My name is Ellen Elcroft. I'm from Maryland. I'll try to be as brief as I can. In the mid-1970s, I was pro-choice. I chose to live with my fiancé. I chose to use an IUD for birth control, although at the time I wasn't aware that it worked like an abortion every month. I chose to marry before my husband and I were finished with our education. In January 1975, I was stunned to find that I was pregnant. It wasn't the right time for us to have a baby. I thought it would be impossible to give away a child. This was almost exactly 2 years after Roe v. Wade, and abortion was now a choice. I chose to believe the lie that what I carried was not fully human, and I hurried to have the abortion because I sensed that I'd never be able to go through with it once I felt any movement. Ironically, it was because I thought that I had no other choice that I chose to have an abortion. I remember that the clinic staff were very sympathetic. There were no questions asked. There was no waiting period. And I remember being told that the abortion would benefit my health, and by that I knew they meant my mental health. The actual procedure remains a blur. Months later, I read a book called Whatever Happened to the Human Race. It dealt with the issues of abortion, infanticide, and euthanasia. It helped me to get beyond the semantics of the women's movement. It helped me to get beyond the semantics of the women's movement to understand the truth that I had taken the life of my child. I vowed never to have another abortion. However, still ignorant of what it truly was, I returned to just a different type of IUD. I became pregnant again after 2 years later, the IUD still in place. I gave birth to a stillborn child, a girl, at 20 weeks. But that's another story, maybe next year. And by the way, I finally ditched the IUD. By 5 years after the abortion, I had my first child. I had difficulty handling her, eventually abusing her both physically and emotionally. I went for counseling because I would be angry, easily irritated, and would cry at the drop of a hat. By 10 years after the abortion, I had a second child and had developed clinical depression. I had more counseling. 15 years after the abortion, I sank into manic depression and was hospitalized for 3 weeks. So much for avoiding mental problems. By 20 years after, I was suffering the medical problems caused by the side effects of the medicine I had to take. Many times, I asked God for forgiveness. Funny, although I was assured that I was forgiven, I had trouble forgiving myself. I had merely buried the matter in my heart. I knew that I would see my 2 lost children in heaven, but it wasn't until this past year that I felt an urge to give them names. But I still had not had the opportunity to grieve for them. This past spring, a series of poems expressing my thoughts and feelings about the abortion and stillbirth literally poured out of my heart 35 years after the abortion. That gave me the courage to begin to reveal the abortion to my children. I attended a Rachel's Vineyard retreat this past July. There I finally was able to openly express my grief, to get past it, to healing from my broken heart, and to finally forgive myself. I've been to the March for Life for several years, and until this year I could not bring myself to stand here with these women because I had been keeping my abortion secret from my children and others. This year I finally told them. I want to tell women who are considering abortion that I know from personal experience that abortion hurts women. I want to assure those women who have had an abortion that there is healing available. I am finally ready to stand here and be silent no more.